I built a mini ecosystem inside not one, but 2 light bulbs. One a forest biome and the other a desert biome.
But there are 2 challenges for this video.
Both terrariums must survive 30 days, and a little creature must survive the 30 days with it. But making this was not so easy.
How am I supposed to fit this inside this tiny hole? Starting with the simple yet challenging task of opening the bulb.
But this cap is glued tight. I must be careful not to break the glass.
How do I do this?
I got my dad to try, but he couldn't either. So we tried something more aggressive, but it was too aggressive.
Ah, crap.
So we tried with our last bulb, and we broke our last bulb too.
So now I've cooked both our bulbs, so I need to buy 2 more and try a different tactic.
And this time with some patience and finesse, we got this one open. But look how tiny this hole is. This is going to be a massive problem later.
We finally got both globes to open, but there's still a problem. The globes would roll everywhere, so now I have to build a stand for them.
For the forest biome, I wanted a piece of old wood to match the forest theme. I found this chunk of my dad's wood pile and cut it to my liking. And for the desert biome, I thought a piece of limestone would look good. After almost breaking my bulbs again, I carefully and artistically placed the bulbs on each stand and glued them on. And here's our terrarium stands. They honestly look way better than I expected. Now for the challenge of adding the base substrate for our ecosystems. If you've seen my $0 terrarium video, you'll know I don't pay for substrate. So I resourced my garden. Starting off with the forest biome, I put pumice on the bottom layer to collect excess water. Then added the substrate mix. The forest biome will have more nutrient-rich soil.
You can get a zoom out now if you want.
The glass got foggy, so I wiped it and began decorating the landscape of our ecosystem. First by placing a big log, then a few stones. But everything needed to be smaller than the light bulb opening. Here's a progress check for our forest biome. Next we will add some lush greenery. But before we do that, let's build our desert biome landscape.
It's leaking. It's leaking.
I poured in a mixture of aquarium sand, pumice and soil. The biome will have a lot less nutrients and capacity to support life compared to our forest biome. To decorate our mini desert landscape, I put not 1, not 2, but 3 stones. I also found this poor little bird skeleton outside my yard.
Jeez.
It had been fully eaten by ants, but I thought its tiny skull would suit the harsh desert environment. I'll place it in after I add the plants. Now back to the forest biome. I snatched a clipping of an asparagus fern from my garden, then place it in the light bulb. As you can see, I am absolutely struggling. Then took this tiny rock plant and struggled for another 5 minutes trying to plant it. The hole is so small and my tweezers are too short and too thick. It feels like I'll break the glass if I try too hard, so I gotta be patient. Lastly, moss, which makes this look like an actual terrarium, not just a crappy plant container. Putting in the moss was a lot easier than putting in the plants. But it still took me a good while and I came close to breaking the glass. And here is our finished forest ecosystem and a light bulb. I really like the sloped ground. It gives depth to the tiny space, but there's still 2 more things it needs to do. It needs to be home for a little creature and survive 30 days. The next thing to do is to find our little creature and put it in our ecosystem. But before we do that, we need to plant up our desert biome. I got some succulent clippings from my garden and this tiny little cactus pop. This cactus pop is absolutely my favorite. I'm gonna name it Pebble. I tried putting the bigger succulent in first, but the hole was too small and broke the leaves. Then, with great difficulty, I added the other little succulents. And finally, best for last, time to add Pebble to the ecosystem. Then I added the rocks back. I took them out before so it'd make planting easier. And finally, I added the little bird skull. Then I struggled for 3 minutes and 23 seconds trying to place the skull how I wanted. This is our finished desert ecosystem and a light bulb. This turned out way better than I thought. I really like how simple and clean it looks. And of course, I adore Pebble. Between the forest biome and desert biome, comment down below which is your favorite. Now it's time to add a little creature to our biomes.
For our desert biome, I did a lot of research, but there's no insect that would do well in this tiny desert. I could try, but I think it's cruel to put a creature in a place that I know it won't do well. The closest thing to a critter in the desert biome is Pebble, and that's good enough for me. But for the forest biome, there's way more options.
I went into my garden and dug into some dirt, looking for a little critter. I found these worms which look like some sort of lava. I kept scraping the surface and scooped up our little critter, a slater or isopod. He laid very still at first, not moving, but thankfully, he perked up and started exploring my hand. I put our little isopod in our light bulb, and he quickly started exploring its environment. I'm struggling to come up with a name for our little isopod. Comment down below a good name for them. Isopods like moist, humid environments with decaying plant matter. I added this fishbone which had a bunch of little springtails on it. These springtails will manage the decaying matter, fungi, from overloading the mini ecosystem. "30 days later, the forest biome light bulb is still in one piece, still flourishing and green. For our little isopod, I hadn't seen it since the first day. Isopods are generally active during the night, so I checked at night multiple days and saw nothing. I thought the worst had happened. I did see many springtails out and about, but no little isopod until randomly on day 17, I see this little guy perched up on the moss. Apparently isopods love to hide and rarely explore unless it's nighttime. I was actually really relieved to see it doing well. In case it needed more food, I grabbed a dry leaf from my garden, broke a piece, but it was a bit dry, so I gave it a bit more moisture. Then left it in the light bulb for whoever wants it. The bulb would also get foggy all the time. I tried cleaning it, but it kept coming back. Not much plant-wise had changed. The fern in the back started getting a bit yellow, but the moss and other plants were doing well. And our desert biome, as you'd expect, not much changed over 30 days. The succulents and pebble are still green and still look healthy, but there was now a surface fungi taking over. I gave the bulb a bit more sunlight to hopefully kill off that fungi. And one day I do want pebble to grow up into a full-grown cactus. As far as the challenge goes, both ecosystems have indeed survived 30 days. And for the forest biome, a little critter has survived 30 days if you include the springtails. But I'm sure the little isopod is in there somewhere, hiding and laying in the dirt, eating leaves. We still need a name for them, by the way. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and comment down below which biome was your favorite and what you want to see me do next.